right, welcome to another edition of the 24th Floor. We are knee deep in football season right now. We're talking about college teams in their conference play, fighting for rankings. We're talking about high school teams in region play, fighting for playoff position.
And the NBA right around the corner.
Yeah, who knew?
We're in preseason. This is the most wonderful time.
No singing loud. There's no singing loud on this show.
And this week we're kicking things off in a new spot for us. Our first stop in DeSoto County this season. That makes this matchup a relative unknown for a lot of fans. That's part of what makes it exciting, Ruben.
Yeah, but it is not unknown for anybody in that area. For this week's game of the week, we're talking about Horn Lake taking on DeSoto Central. DeSoto Central going to be hosting those Jaguars, right? Both teams are coming in with something to prove. To break it all down with us, we've got DeSoto Central football head coach Will Wolf joining us. Thanks for joining us, Coach. One of the best names in coaching, Will Wolf.
Will Wolf. Double W. See, say it fast. WW.
Great name.
Looking to pick up the W this week.
Coach, appreciate you taking the time.
We're going to try. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on and promoting high school football in this area for sure.
Absolutely. Let's get right to it. For people who may be in the Memphis area who don't go down that area, down to DeSoto Central very often to see some of that football, they're missing some great football. You guys are really good at 5-2. Talk a little bit about how this season has progressed so far.
It's been a good year. I'm proud of how hard the kids have played, and how they've prepared, and all the coaches have done a great job. It's been a lot of hard work, but everybody's working hard. Programs all across the state, all across Memphis, everyone's working hard, and there's just something special about Friday nights, and we're just really blessed that we get to experience that.
And, Coach, I like being the connective tissue guy on this show. And so for the people who do not know, you guys are the one team to hand an L to Germantown, which I have on this program have called the best team in the Memphis area when it comes to high school football. So when we get a chance to get a closer look at you guys, now I want the viewers to know that you guys are not only legit because of your 5-2 record, but you're legit because you beat probably the best of the best here in Memphis.
Well, Coach Gene does a great job at Germantown, and Germantown has a well-established program they have for many, many years. And, man, it was just a really good high school football game, and we were fortunate enough to come out on top. Kids played really well. Coaches coached really well. And, in this business, that seems like it was 100 years ago. So, I think it was 2 weeks ago. That might as well have been last year. Everything it's about, you just go from one Friday to the next. And, right now we're really focusing on Horn Lake, and Horn Lake has a great program, and Coach Hectorn and his staff do a unbelievable job, and have a lot of respect for them and what they do and how they do things. And it ought to be a unbelievable football game.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about some of the kids on your team. You've got a running back who's racking up crazy numbers. Cade Rogers, something like 1,300 rushing yards already this season. He's got 7 games with over 100 yards, like 9 touchdowns. This kid is averaging almost 200 yards on the ground a game. Talk a little bit about this kid that some people may not realize is out there.
Cade Rogers is a great football player. Cade Rogers is a great person. Cade Rogers is a great student. Cade Rogers is a great son. He's a total package, and he means so much to us. He's a hard worker. Yes, sir. No, sir. He's just such a pleasure to coach. The only problem I have personally with Cade is I feel like an idiot for not playing him at running back last year when he was a sophomore. But he was on defense.
Coach, don't tell nobody else that.
I know. So, but Cade's a great kid, and he's done a great job for us, and he's just a lot of fun to be around and to get the opportunity to coach.
You talk about defense. Let's talk about some of your playmakers on defense. You got a guy named Landon Carradine, 7 sacks on the season. It seems like he's just a monster in the backfield there. So tell me a little bit about him and your defense.
Carradine is a good player. He's just a junior. He started last year as a sophomore. Man of few words. He works really hard. He plays really hard. Just good people. And, you keep bringing these guys up. Eric Perry, our quarterback, Auburn commit. Same deal with him. Great people, hard worker. When you're better players or you're, better people, then it's a lot of fun to come to work every day. And so, man, those guys are just really, just a blessing to be able to coach them, be around them every day.
Now, you mentioned Eric Perry. He was the next on our list. The guy's got like 24 touchdowns on the year. I mean, those are crazy numbers as well. While you have individual kids getting great stats, talk a little bit about how that your line, offensively and defensively, are able to make your team become so successful, because it takes all those guys.
It does. And it starts there. And so our offensive line is a really good unit, and our defensive line is a good unit. And, those kids, and that's, people that have been coaching long enough kind of pretty much understand everything is built inside out on both sides of the ball. And with a very good D line and a very good offensive line this year. It's just like with anybody else. We got to stay healthy. And, but yeah, they're a good unit on both sides of the ball up front for sure.
Coach, I like to call this time of the year gut check time, because now we're getting closer and closer to the postseason. As you all sit here 5-2, where do you kind of feel about your team as y'all are trying to jockey up for position in the playoffs? Because we focus a lot on this program about the Tennessee playoffs, but how does that look like on the Mississippi side?
The kind of similar. They take the top four. The top four here go, and then you just like the playoffs, 1 versus 4, and the first 2 seeds get to host. As far as us personally, as far as me personally, I'm a one, right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm a 1 week at a time guy, and we're really just worried about this Friday night, and we just want to take care of and control what we can control. And Friday night's the next thing up, and that's kind of what we're worried about. If we take care of business and do the things that we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to do them, everything else, scoreboard and all those things will take care of itself. We just need to do our job, be very, very physical, protect the football, don't get stupid penalties. If you'll do those things in high school football, you have an opportunity to win on Friday night. And so that's what we kind of harp on, and that's what I'm worried about right now.
Coach, before we let you out here, and I know you have other things to do with your life besides sit here and look at the two of us all day.
Yeah, I got cafeteria duty coming up, man. You got to hurry up.
It's going to get wild in there if you don't hurry up. Talk a little bit before we let you go about the atmosphere people can expect, because you're talking about 2 really good teams with a bunch of really good players on you can't ask for a better Friday night atmosphere, I would assume.
Oh, it's high school football is Friday nights is something special. It really is. And you guys talk to enough former athletes, most of those guys' favorite memories are going to be about, high school football on Friday nights and their high school experience, getting to play with their friends and their buddies and their families, getting to watch them play. It'll be a packed house, I'm sure, and it'll be really exciting. And we're excited about the opportunity. I really like my football team. I like how they prepare. I like how they go about things. And we're excited to play Friday night.
All right, Coach, we appreciate you. We appreciate your time. I will be there Friday night. I'll be looking for some food, by the way, as long as you just so somebody's cooking out. Slide me a plate is all I'm saying.
Well, we're on the road, so if you need anything, I might have a liquid IV for you. That's about as good as you're going to get. A banana, granola bar.
I'll do what I can do with that. All right, we appreciate you taking the time, chopping it up with us. It's time for our first break.
Yes, when we are coming back, we're checking in with DeSoto's opponent, Horn Lake head coach. He joins us after the break. All right, we're back, and now shifting our focus to the Horn Lake Eagles, who is the home team.
Yes, the home team for this weekend. We're taking a closer look at Horn Lake ahead of this week's ABC24 Game of the Week.
And joining us now is Horn Lake football head coach, Coach Dustin Hectorn. I like the sound of that last name, Hectorn. Coach, thanks for joining us today and taking some time with us.
Hey, I appreciate you having us on and highlighting our program.
Absolutely. So we're going to get to the football in a second, but first we had just spoke to Coach Wolf, and he reminded us that he's going to be visiting. So that means you're responsible for food duties for me when I'm on the road, because I will be there Friday night, and I'm going to be looking for some food, just so we're clear.
Hey, we got you. Look, and I'll go ahead and tell you now, we've got the best hamburgers in our concession stand anywhere ever. So you're going to be in great shape over here.
Sounds good,
I
Coach.
knew you just had to talk about food. He just always talks about food.
All right, Coach, let's get to business, though. 4-2 on the season. Didn't, still looking for that first region win, it looks like. But how's the squad looking right now?
We're doing well. I don't think that we played a complete game yet. It'd be easy to kind of be happy about 4-2, but look, we've played some really tough competition. We've looked really good at times, and we've kind of relaxed a little bit too much at other times. So, look, overall, man, I love this team. Great group of kids that love each other and are playing really hard. So we're just looking to kind of put it all together and play a complete game here, hopefully really, really soon.
So, Coach, it will be our first time that we get a chance to look at your program. And what I said in our last segment with Coach Wolf, the little bit of connective tissue with them is they were the one team that beat Germantown, which I've said is probably the best team here in the Memphis area. So if I was looking at Horn Lake for the first time, looking at this upcoming matchup, how would you describe your team?
Well, look, we're a senior-heavy team. We've got some great leadership. I feel like we play really good defense. We got some guys that fly around. It means a lot to them to play defense, and they kind of take it personal when guys gain yards, right? So I think we're a physical team when it comes to that. Offensively, we're explosive, and we've got to learn how to drive and keep things moving. But look, I think we're one of the better teams in this area as well. We've got to put it all together and show it. But again, we've got a tough task ahead of us. But I think you can be pretty pleased and excited to watch our team play.
You got a running back who's putting up some pretty good numbers as well. Floyd Senegal, I believe, is like 700 yards, 7 touchdowns already. Does the offense kind of run through him?
Yes and no. Floyd is a human highlight reel. He's one of the fastest. He's the fastest kid in the state of Mississippi, and has been for several years. And at any point in time, he can take something that looks like absolutely nothing, and it's a 80-yard touchdown. So a lot goes through him, but we've got some receivers that make good plays, and we've got plenty of guys that we can count on. So we're not a one-trick pony by any means, but Floyd's special and a lot of fun to watch, and honestly makes my job easy when he can take something and make it into something else. Man, it's pretty special.
Tell us a little bit about your defense, because I think about it like team takeaway. You all have 6 interceptions on the season, 5 fumble recoveries. Tell us about what makes you all so good on that end.
Well, first of all, they're extremely well coached. Our coaching staff does a great job with them, puts them in great positions. But again, they're hungry for the ball. That's something that if the ball's in the air, they want an interception, right? They're always looking to rip those things out. And there's one thing that you pick up a fumble that somebody just dropped, and there's another one when you're ripping that thing out, punching it out. And our guys are very active in doing that and looking for those opportunities. So they're just a special group. It's a lot of guys that have played a lot and played together, and they take it personal. So when you got kids that do that, you got a recipe for some pretty special things.
I see you got a kid with Jaden Collier with like 15 tackles for loss. I mean, the guy's obviously disrupting plays. Are you going to be relying pretty heavily on kids like that and your defense to keep this game, to keep that, DeSoto Central offense kind of hopefully contained, because they're pretty explosive too?
Yeah, somebody said something about stopping them, and there's absolutely no stopping this offense. Obviously with Eric Perry, the Auburn commit, catching the snap, and then another running back right next to him with over 1,000 yards already, I believe. A couple of receivers that can go. There's no stopping it. It's going to be a matter of trying to contain it, and that's what the goal is. And again, these guys I think are up for that challenge. We'll see what happens on Friday, but again, they're hungry to get out there and try to get a stop.
Now, Coach, we only have about a minute or so left here, but did want to ask you real quick, for people who've never been to a game at Horn Lake, what can they expect Friday night at this big game?
Well, look, we have an amazing atmosphere. Our band is fantastic. They do a fantastic job, and it's a lot of fun there. We cheer, and you're going to have people everywhere welcoming you when you walk in through the gate. And again, it's just a great atmosphere overall. Again, I mentioned the concession stand we started. They do a fantastic job there, but more importantly, I don't know what the slate looks like around the city this Friday, but you're going to have a hard time finding a better football game than what you're going to see at our place Friday night. Coach Wolf does a fantastic job. He's one of the best coaches in this area and has been for quite some time, and he's got that program really rolling. And again, if nothing else, you're going to see an amazing football game come Friday night.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Coach. We appreciate you taking the time. I don't know if you have cafeteria duty like Coach Wolf does or not, but I'm sure you got something else you got to do besides just talk to us.
Thank you, Coach.
Always something, but hey, I really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
No, all right. We'll see you on Friday night. We'll be out there for sure.
Absolutely. All right, coming up, Ruben and I break down Memphis's road trip to UAB, keys to a big win, and what to watch as the Tigers roll.
All right, welcome back, Memphis fans. The Tigers are going to hit the road this weekend to take on UAB. There's plenty to watch. It's going to be a new interim head coach there. You've got the high-powered Memphis offense, playoff implications on the line. Rich, I know you've been digging into this one, so what stands out to you?
Well, Ruben, Memphis is coming off a bye at 6-0, and while UAB's firing of Trent Dilfer adds some unknowns, the Tigers are clicking offensively and defensively. They're top 15 nationally in rushing at just a little bit under 240 yards per game. Defense holding teams under 17 points per game. And yeah, UAB just fired head coach Trent Dilfer, but the guy that they have backing him up as the interim, Alex Mortensen, they feel really well about him that this will be his chance to kind of show like, hey, this is my time to shine and actually get that head coach gig. So UAB, I know they're not giving up. They're giving up a ton of yards per game. What for you do you think Memphis has to prove today? This weekend.
Well, I think Memphis has to prove that they're for real. And part of, I believe that Memphis, Coach Silverfield and that staff have got their eyes on the prize while keeping their players completely focused on the week to week. So they know they can't go out there and stumble against a UAB team that is, even with an interim coach, sometimes you get an interim coach and you get a little bit of life into a team,
they always
right?
play inspired. You see it across all sports.
They kick out a little faster. But I think Memphis knows what's at stake. I think the staff understands what's going on, and I don't think you're going to see Memphis skip a beat against UAB.
Now, do you think, we talked about it last week with Ole Miss, and it seems like it's easy to overlook this UAB because UAB is so bad. But I'd like to think in that locker room they're giving UAB the proper respect. Do you think that this game still will be a trap game for Memphis? Where we could see like Ole Miss and like it's a close game that's less than a touchdown.
No, I think what happened in North Texas last weekend reminds everybody, any given Saturday or any given Sunday, right? I don't think that those coaches, the one thing I love about football is it is so methodical. Mm-hmm. On Mondays you do this, on Tuesdays you do this. We always hear coaches say, well, we're just working week to week, and it always sounds like coach speak, but that's really what football is. Mm-hmm. Football is really such a disciplined sport that there's no way that staff is breaking their routine, breaking their focus to look ahead and look past somebody that could make them stumble on their path to greatness. I just do not see it happening.
Do you feel like this has become kind of a rivalry? Because, you look at this matchup, it's called the Battle of the Bones. Yeah. Which I have been trying to dig into what that means. I think it's about barbecue.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this is really a rivalry? Because I don't know anybody who actually really cares about Birmingham from a sports perspective. Now, maybe a city perspective, it's a little trash talk. But from a sports perspective, what do we got?
I'll say this first. Don't go to Birmingham anytime soon.
I was there not too long ago.
They're going to be looking for you. Talk about how bad they are. No, I'll say rivalries are built when either by proximity or by pride. Hey, we're both fighting for the same thing, and it's a battle back and forth. OU, OSU, OU, Texas. Those rivalries are built on those types of things. I just don't think UAB and Memphis have enough of either of those two things for it to be a true rivalry. And I think that you're talking about two different programs that are going two totally different directions. Right? You'd be more likely to have a USF-Memphis rivalry than you would have a UAB-Memphis rivalry, because USF, at least, and Memphis are both striving for the same thing. So there's a common denominator there that makes them rivals. I just don't see UAB. And I don't want to overlook UAB, and I'm not trying to downplay UAB. I'm just that confident in what Memphis has shown me week after week after week, which is if they're going to find ways to win against SEC teams, they're dang sure not going to show up and drop the ball unprepared against a team that they know that they should and have to beat to continue their journey.
I'm glad you brought up USF, because that's what's next for Memphis. And we found out this week that the Memphis USF game will be at 11 a.m.
Got to get up
So
early.
we've already been talking about, will College game day come to Memphis? Do you think that, it's not impossible, an 11 a.m. kick.
11 a.m.
It's not impossible, but obviously Memphis has to take care of business against UAB. But if both teams take care of business, how are you feeling about game day coming?
I would love it if game day would come for a variety of reasons. It would spread the love amongst the college football programs. Right now, game day is almost always at an SEC. It's always at a P4 conference game, almost always. So if you could get a Group of 5 conference game as your college football game day game, that would be huge. It would show that your work doesn't go unnoticed. But I just think it's hard pressed to do it, because you're still talking about game day needing to appeal to the largest amount of audience as possible.
But sometimes it's still cool to kind of have the little guys, the American.
I'm not discrediting that. I'm just saying I'm thinking about it from what what ESPN is going to be thinking about.
And I know one of the candidates for game day that week was Ole Miss OU. Well, now Ole Miss is this weekend at UGA, so that kind of takes the game off the board. Yeah, and OU lost. So, I don't know. You would talk about a top 25 showdown. I talked with you earlier this week. Memphis and USF now have the highest probability of making the playoffs out of the 9 Power 4 conferences.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying with that 11 a.m. kickoff, it's not probable.
Yeah.
And that's,
it's a tight turn.
Yeah, traditionally.
It's like immediately you get off and then boom.
That's just real tough, especially considering what they like to do throughout the course of that morning. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's not probable based on the 11 a.m. kickoff. If they had kept that kickoff as TBD until after this week, then I would have said, oh, there's a really good chance. But I think being on game day would be great for Memphis, but I think that's just, that would be flower, that'd be icing on the cake already. They're building something which is they have a chance to do something really special. And being on game day would be a great flower in your cap, but it wouldn't be what you'd hang your season on if you didn't win.
What's kind of stood out to you about Memphis offensively? I know on this program I talk a lot about Brendan Lewis and Cortez Bram, but for you, we don't really hear you kind of say what you feel about what you've seen.
I think they are the epitome of Memphis. They are grit and grind on the offensive side of the ball. They are not flash and bang. Every now and then you're going to see a ball 15-plus yards thrown. But mostly it's going to be designed runs, quarterback keepers. We're going to grind it out. We're going to pound that ball into the dirt, and we're going to make you stop us. And that style of football fits perfectly for the city, for the culture, for the team that they've put together. So I think when I watch Memphis football, and I don't, if you don't know, I've been doing sports for a long time. So it was ingrained in me a long time ago that you don't cheer, you just report.
Yeah.
But I was cheering with that Arkansas-Memphis game. I was at the house like, oh, let's go, because I just, wanted them. You wanted them to prove that they could do it. And so I think Memphis's offense is a perfect microcosm of Memphis itself. Grit, grind, and fight to the very end.
I'm glad that you said that on this program, because y'all were looking at me crazy when I said that about Ole Miss, because that's kind of how I feel the same way about Ole Miss. But with this being the first game back from Memphis, we always talk about extra preparation versus possible rust. Do you think that there's a chance that, especially with Memphis, they're shown that they're a second-half team. Yeah. Do you think that we could see those things where it's a slow first half and then you got to turn it around in the second half?
You're absolutely going to most likely see that. Just like, that's why coaches hate late bye weeks. You'd rather have a bye week in the first or second week. I think someone would do without the bye week if they get away with it altogether. But you love the rest for your players. but you hate the fact that you're going to have to fight against, again, football is a routine. So for a whole week, your guys have been out of routine, and now you got to get them back in routine.
On the road.
And on the road, it's all those things matter in football in a way that they kind of don't matter to the same level in other sports. Football, for sure, is just built that way. So I think you could expect to see a little bit of a sluggish start, but then just, again, given the way that the mentality of that team and that coaching staff is, that grit and grind and fight mentality, I don't think it lasts long. I think it's in the first series or two, and then everybody gets together and says, all right, let's get right to what we need to be doing. Because they are still going to be on ESPN, right, or ESPN or ESPN2. They're still going to be on a nationally televised game. You still want to put together a good performance.
Well, they will have to put together a good performance going up against UAB. They have to prove that they are no fluke. We will be watching that game this Saturday, and, of course, we will talk about it the following week after. Ruben, we got to take a quick break.
Yeah, let's take another timeout. We come back, we're going to talk about Ole Miss. They got a huge road test at Georgia. We're talking about the key matchups and what needs to happen if they want to keep that SEC glory race going.
Welcome back. The SEC spotlight is shining bright this week. Number 5, Ole Miss hits the road to face number 9, Georgia, at Sanford Stadium.
Yeah, it's a huge game. Big stakes. Ole Miss, high-powered offense versus Georgia's elite defense. Revenge factor playing in from last year. Obviously, you're talking about SEC standings, potential playoff implications. There's a lot on the line here.
Yes, and to continue the conversation about Ole Miss, you can't talk about them without having this guy in the conversation. He is the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, which you can catch on the 24 Plus app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Once again, welcome to the program. You know I got to get it fired up, Ruben. Mr. Stephen Willis, let's get the clap going. Snap, count, bang.
This guy.
There we go. That is awesome. That is awesome. I'm starting to get really on board with that, actually, by the way.
With this one snap. All right, let's talk, Stephen. Let's get into it. First of all, huge game coming up, but we got to talk a little bit about. Is it fair to say less than stellar performance against Washington State?
I told y'all.
A less than stellar performance?
I told y'all.
Just a little bit. Talk a little bit about the kind of the mood after that, because Coach Kiffin was not happy.
Yeah.
Listen, we heard before the Washington State game when the bye week was there that he's like, hey, we spent 2 days on Georgia this week. And I tend to look at coach speak like kind of U.S. military secrets. What you know about is about 20% of what's actually there. So I do not know. If you told me right now they did not service team or anything Washington State and they just wanted to Jimmy's and Joe's this, I would probably believe you, because the performance Ole Miss put out on the field was not good at all. Yeah. But I think the mistake would be trying to transitive property put that into the Georgia game any more than it would be is like, hey, whether they played like this against LSU and then they did this against Washington State, it just doesn't really work that way. The issue that is going to be really happening this week is the fact that Trinidad Chambliss is likely going to be making his first road start in front of 90,000 people, a stripe out in Athens, Georgia, in the game of the week with College Game Day. I mean, that is prime freak-out material right there. I mean, it would not surprise anybody if a quarterback from Ferris State kind of buckles under that kind of pressure. So I don't know that Ole Miss played bad to where the vibes are down, because the vibes are, of course, going to be down in Oxford, Mississippi after that Washington State game, because fans are extremely emotional, and they take one data point and stretch that into infinity. But I don't think that's actually the case inside the building. That makes sense. I think they're pretty excited. The moment they got College Game Day, they immediately flipped over to Georgia, and they're going to be ready to go, I think.
So I think looking at that Washington State game, the fact that if you talk to anybody after that game, you would have thought they lost because of how dejected and upset they were. To me, I like that, because now that lets me know they're going to be a little bit more locked in against Georgia. So when we look at the game plan, Stephen, how should Ole Miss attack Georgia's top defense?
Well, I think you need to run it directly at him. I had Gary Patterson, the former TCU head coach, on my podcast yesterday, and he mentioned the run game. You can't do any of those slow developing run plays, counters, trying to run off tackle. It has to be very direct at this Kirby Smart, Nick Saban system. So you're not going to see like counters and very slow stuff. It's going to be quick hitting inside zone plays with very little pulling. That is going to have to be the run game. Kewan Lacey is going to have to run the ball enough to where Kirby's defense respects it so that Trinidad Chambliss can throw the ball, because here's the thing about the Georgia defense. They don't particularly get after the quarterback. They gave up 40 points against Tennessee, throwing the ball downfield, where Tennessee just kind of victimized them on deep passes over and over again. Mm-hmm. But Ole Miss kind of has to earn the right to be able to do that. And by doing that, they're going to run the ball with Kewan Lacey and at least make them respect that. If that can happen, this has a chance to be a shootout level game, in my opinion. It could look a little bit like the Tennessee game if Georgia gets their running game going. But this is a weird game because I can see like any of three outcomes. Either Ole Miss wins 31-10, or Georgia wins 31-10, or it's a 24-21 nail biter. It could go any way, honestly.
Well, I think we just referenced the fact that Ole Miss didn't play great against Washington State. You could say the same about Georgia and their performance against Auburn. Not a stellar performance against a team who we all know has not been playing great SEC football here lately. So what do you think Ole Miss saw in that Georgia game? Because, that Auburn game that maybe gave them some insight of things that they could use against them, because their talent level is going to be up there.
I think they saw some schematic things that works against their defense. I think you're going to see some jet sweeps and things like that. Real quick hitting, you're going to see some quarterback powers. Trinidad Chambliss is going to be asked to carry the ball 20-plus times this game, in my opinion. All of that stuff in the first half, I think Lane Kiffin just made the mental note, like the meme of Ryan from The Office talking about, yep, check that off. Yeah. And you just look at what you do in that running game. Now, in the second half, whenever Kirby and everybody adjust to it, you have to have a plan B. This is one of those, I call them a two-game plan games, because Georgia is so good at adjusting. You actually need a second game plan of how to attack on top of the first one, because once they adjust to that first one, you need to be able to go somewhere so you don't look like Auburn did in the second half. And even Alabama was shut out in the second half of their game with Georgia. So I think this is a two-game plan type of game. I do think with the addition of Trinidad Chambliss, you have a better running threat than either of those teams had. And that's going to help the Ole Miss offense. That's going to help Kewan Lacey. And if you can do it just right, it could cause a good bit of trouble in that Georgia defense.
So, we talk a lot about Trinidad Chambliss. I'm not going to make no qualms. He has become my favorite college football player this season. I spew propaganda about him on this program.
Yes, you do.
But you know what they say. You're only as good as how you can play on the road. And everything we've seen of him so far has been at home in Oxford. So he has to prove that his show can travel. Like what we said, this is his first big SEC road test. How do you think he'll handle that?
Honestly, he didn't mess up horribly against Arkansas. We thought that might have been a bridge too far after coming from D2. Against LSU, which is potentially the best defense in the country, he didn't freak out then. So I don't know if there's any reason to think that he would freak out just because there's a little bit of crowd noise to go with the Georgia defense. This is the highest level that he's gotten to, but if he's made it this far, I don't know that he is going to stumble in the future. Now, the thing that I'm concerned about is Ole Miss stopping the Georgia running game. That I think is the bigger question in the game, is if Ole Miss can avoid those explosive plays that even Washington State, who has trouble running the football, got against Ole Miss. That's a bigger question to me than whether or not Trinidad Chambliss can get there. Listen, the first play of the game, literally the first play of the game, I would jet motion across, fake the handoff, and let him run and get hit. At that very first play, just like you're in the game, we're ready to go. And then after that, call a screen pass or something easy, throwing the ball, and he's in the game at that point. The worst thing that could happen for this for Trinidad Chambliss would be if for some reason Lane Kiffin doesn't take the ball after winning the first snap, to where you just have to think about it for 5 or 10 minutes of game time once the game begins. I would get out there, let him get a hit, let him throw a pass, and let's go. That's the way I would attack it, as opposed to, hey, let's just let Georgia's quarterback hand the ball off to the running back to where they're just death marching down there, because this Kirby Smart offense is very much like the old Nick Saban offenses from like 2011, 2012, before the offense got all happy. They're perfectly fine with running the ball down your throat. They will death march you all single day game long. And it's up to Pete Golding to get that stop, because if you let it go 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, first down, 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, first down, they're going to beat you. Yeah, that's going to be a long day.
So you're saying that Trinidad Chambliss needs to do his best Willie Beeman impression from Any Given Sunday, going out there and throw up one time, let it out, and then get ready to play. Let's talk a little bit about the coaching. We talk a lot about the players and a lot about the schemes, but let's talk a little bit about the coaching. Lane Kiffin seems to have, in my opinion, turned a corner and is being really recognized and seen as one of those elite level coaches in college football now, in my opinion, because they're not surprised when Ole Miss is winning these games. They're expecting it, and I think he's just really changed. What's your opinion on Coach Kiffin and his growth over the years?
Do you think it's also partially because of the documentary?
No, I think he was already heading that direction.
Yeah. In the last 5 years, Ole Miss is 7th nationally in wins.
That's a lot.
In the last 5 years. Yeah. It's a long time. That's doing a lot for his reputation. Now, the thing that we're seeing right now, like 2024, they were still playing the analytics game, to where go for it and all of the stuff that was really fun when you were a 5-5 team or you were just starting out. But it wasn't quite as funny whenever you end up losing a game to Kentucky or something like that. This year, I guess it started with the Georgia game, where he completely played it like Nick Saban as far as in game. We're going to take the field goal. We're going to do all of that. And you're not going to beat us because we're the favorite in this game and we're going to act like it. This season, with the exception of Washington State, they fell into the trap a little bit at the beginning of the Washington State game. Lane Kiffin didn't go for it. He doesn't do anything. He has a kicker that's one of the best in the country. He has a punter that's absolutely fantastic. They win special teams. They play field position, all of that with a quarterback that can game manage a little bit. I know that game manager is a dirty word whenever describing a quarterback, but when you look at the stat sheet, Ole Miss is at best when each receiver gets 3 or 4 catches in a ball game and it's about 7 or 8 deep. Not whenever one receiver gets 12 catches and it's only 4 deep. And Trinidad Chambliss and all of that is all part of the maturity, in my opinion, of Lane Kiffin. And the reason why, honestly, 2 years ago, if it was 2013 again, this game in Sanford Stadium would scare the heck out of me. It would almost feel like a no-win type situation, because that we were going to see self-destruction happen. I don't think that is the case anymore. Now, this game is the one game this season that Lane Kiffin gets to play the us versus the world and the underdog card, which is weird for a top 5 team, but it exists. And I am curious to see if that affects play calling or anything like that, because Ole Miss has the talent to compete on the field. They have everything. The only thing that they have to worry about is self-destructing. And in an environment like that, a couple of early turnovers, maybe going for it in your own territory, giving Gunnar Stockton a short field, and next thing you know, it's 2023. We'll see what happens this year, but I'm feeling pretty good about Lane Kiffin over the journey that he's made over about the last year or so to becoming what he is. The evolution of him as a head coach is pretty interesting.
So we talked about the history, and me, I love narratives. And we talked about it earlier this year when it was Ole Miss Kentucky. So we got to look at last year. And do you think last year Georgia losing to Ole Miss, does that motivate or fuel Georgia? Or on the flip side, does it motivate Ole Miss to go out and prove that it wasn't a fluke, that it was so nice, we can do it twice?
You know, that game, I think it helps Ole Miss because it proves that you can do it. Everybody's going to walk over there with the knowledge that they can beat these guys. That game was almost similar to Ole Miss beating Alabama in 2014. Well, what happened in 2015? They went into Tuscaloosa and did it again. So I do think that helps Ole Miss that way. Now, I think Kirby Smart has just enough OCD that he did the same thing that Lane Kiffin did a year ago and put extra time into the Ole Miss game plan. So there's going to be wrinkles and things that pop up that maybe Pete Golding and Lane Kiffin aren't expecting. This is a fun game. It went to game day and all of that, and everybody's wondering about it. But I don't think it gets the credibility of a game because Ole Miss is in it. If it was Georgia and LSU, this would be looked at totally different than Georgia and Ole Miss. And I think people are going to be surprised at the competitiveness of this ball game and the warlike going back and forth that you're going to see. I like I said earlier, if it was 31-10 either way or 24-21, none of those outcomes surprise me. But the one I'm expecting is the 24-21.
Yeah. Important to mention that game will be seen right here on ABC24 and a part of our SEC on ABC coverage at 2:30 kickoff. It's massive. Let's give the people the information on where they can tune in to Mr. Stephen Wills if they want more of this Ole Miss information.
Absolutely. Like we always said, you can catch Stephen on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, on the 24 Plus app, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcast. Stephen, you working on anything particular for us?
Getting ready for basketball season. This year during basketball, I don't care if we're playing St. Mary's or whoever the game is, we are going to be live doing a reaction show immediately after that. We're going to expand our coverage to do a little bit like that. But it should be a lot of fun. But hopefully, hey, Ole Miss is still playing football well into January. If that happens, we'll be all right.
So, Stephen, just kind of remind me, when is Ole Miss basketball's first game? What date does that fall
on? November 2nd. They play against, I think, Louisiana Monroe on November 2nd. Their super secret scrimmage is coming up pretty close. So they're about to get into exhibition season and all of that as well. So we'll see how it looks. Chris Beard had media days in Birmingham yesterday. Those guys are in the middle of the league in the last four in type thing. I'm telling you, Ilias Camerding, the guy from France that came over, has a chance to be a really special player. And Chris Beard has a better team than people are willing to give him credit for right now.
So I'm glad because November 2nd, that's the day before my birthday.
We'll stay on top of that. Stephen, again, appreciate your time. We'll let you get out here and get back to whatever it is you do during the day when it's not talking to us. Have a great rest of your day, brother.
All right, you too. Take care.
All right, time for another quick break.
Yes, coming up on 901 Bets, I give you my picks for this week's college football matchup and the latest bankroll basics. Stay close. What up, and welcome to the 901 Bets. Think of this as sports betting for dummies right here in Memphis. Now, before we get rolling, quick reminder, if gambling has become a problem for you, hit that Tennessee Gambling Hotline, that number right on your screen, 800-889-9789. Now I want to start this segment a bit different. Oftentimes you hear me say we will give you your flowers on this program, and I'm a man of my word. So let's start with a bold bets from Bill that paid off big. This past Sunday, Bobby Tedesco didn't just place a bet. He called his shot. He threw $12.50 on Nate Atkins of the Denver Broncos to score the first touchdown against the Jets. Not anytime, not eventually, first. And guess what? Atkins delivered. That one gutsy pick turned into a $937.50 payout. That's not luck, folks. That's vision, and that's Beale Street energy. So, Bobby, we see you, we salute you, and we're giving you your flowers right here on 901 Bets. Keep swinging for the fences, my guy. All right, y'all, now it's time for Bankroll Basics, where we break down betting lingo so you can talk the talk before you place that next wager. So with it being the baseball postseason, let's talk about listed pitchers. Now, if you're betting baseball, that one's a big deal. When you make a bet with listed pitchers, that means your action only counts if those exact starting pitchers take the mound. Say you're riding with the Cardinals, who aren't in the playoffs, but let's say they were in the playoffs and you like how Miles McCollum matches up. But right before first pitch, he gets scratched. Now, if your bet was listed pitchers, boom, that bet's voided. You get your money back. Now, if you had it as action, that means your bet still stands, even if the starter changes. But that can be risky because one pitching swap can flip the whole game. So here's the play. If pitching matchups are the reason for your pick, always double check that listed pitchers box before you confirm your bet. Because in baseball, that one name on the lineup card can make or break your ticket. All right, Memphis, let's hit this week's Bluff City lines. I'm all in on the Tigers' money line over UAB. That's the easy call. They're 6-0 against the spread and haven't missed yet. Now, for the spread, I'm rolling with Memphis at 20.5. The Tigers are winning by an average of 24 a game, and UAB's defense has been flat out bad, giving up more than 41 points a night. And for the total, I'm going to fade it down a bit to 59.5 and take the over. That Memphis offense, top 15 in the nation, they're coming off a bye. So money line, spread, and over, Tigers across the board. All right, let's shift to Ole Miss football now. This week, I'm rolling with the other side. Yeah, I know. Tough call. But that Washington State game, I don't know, it just exposed some flaws for the Rebels for me. And Georgia's coming in battle-tested after that grinded-out win over Auburn. Plus, they've got revenge on their mind after getting blown out last year. And y'all know I'm a very big on the narrative game. So I'm going to stay away from the spread when it comes to Ole Miss because, you know, like I said, that's on my ban list. But for the total, it's at 54.5. I'm going to take the under on that. I think this one's a defensive fight, and it's not going to be a fireworks show. So Georgia rolls and the Rebels cool off in Athens. All right, time to check the Bluff City Lions record. Now, Ruben loves to remind me every time I'm wrong, but you know what they say. Men lie, women lie, but the numbers don't. I've been right more often than not. Last week's Bluff City Lions was a light one because it was just Ole Miss since Memphis was on a bye. So I hit the money line pick, even though it turned into another hold on to dear life type of game. And I nailed the under on 58.5 because that final score, let's be honest, didn't even sniff it. 21-24, not even close. So bottom line, I went 2-0 on the week and improved my record to 13-8 overall. We're cooking, Memphis. Let's keep it rolling. And as always, send me your takes. If you have a betting terminology you're unsure of, send it my way. Want my opinion or a slip on or a ticket you have? Send it my way. And man, as I've shown you, if you want to even spotlight your W, I will give you your flowers on this program because we have fun over here, man. You can at me on X at RD2Sports, text the number 901-321-7520, or just use the hashtag ABC24Floor. But in saying all that, folks, remember, producer Azarite, bring it up for me one more time. This content is for entertainment purposes only. ABC24 and its affiliates do not encourage gambling. Viewer discretion is advised. Any betting decisions you make, solely your responsibility. Not responsible for any financial losses or wins resulting from information presented on this program. Time for a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the best thing we saw this past week.
All right, how about the best thing we
Players
saw?
need to treat them like that, and that's top to bottom. That's in this.
You were saying?
That's the best thing I saw all week. Hey, if you didn't see that, you don't know what that is, that's Asia Wilson after the Las Vegas Aces won the WNBA championship. They went to the press conference. Asia obviously had a little too much Kool-Aid. and was feeling it during the press conference.
And you said what? She was drunk in love. See, when you were telling me about this, everything about Asia Wilson I had looked at was her thing with Bam Adebayo, which I thought was so sweet. Like,
Nah, say nothing to do with
talk
that.
about that basketball power couple.
Now, we're talking about her shaking the tambourine during the press conference several times, and then slurring them words, and then eventually look at her.
She's the
good.
greatest.
Yeah, she's really, really
She's
good.
everything you want in like a role model and a face of the league. I'm just so happy for her to win the title. But I don't mean to dim on her parade. But they said with her winning this championship, she's the GOAT. I just can't give it to her, Ruben. She's top 3 for me, but I can't.
I think
my GOAT is still Maya Moore.
Yeah, I think it's so hard to do the GOAT stuff because generationally, the game does change.
Yeah.
Right? So the WNBA women's basketball players right now are different than the WNBA women's basketball players from 10 years ago. Just in the style of play, the athleticism has improved, the skill sets have improved all the way around. So it's so hard to do a GOAT. You could do a generational GOAT.
Yeah.
Like for me,
maybe she's the generational
Yeah,
GOAT for
generationally,
this
she's
decade.
probably the GOAT, right? Of
Yeah.
this generation. Like for me, Michael Jordan will always be the GOAT of basketball. But people who didn't grow up watching Michael Jordan
Will
are
say
going to think that LeBron is.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to have that debate. So yes, hats off to Asia Wilson for having fun at her press conference.
And
after they
Ruben,
won.
you know I gotta have you with I told you so. Let's roll the best thing that I saw. You know, and this is for Ruben and this is for Memphis. Bijan Robinson on Monday Night Football. Falcons up by 7, 1st and 5. Robinson finds a gap on the right side, just takes off for the 81-yard touchdown. Pure gas to the house, Ruben. By halftime, he had 136 rushing yards and a score, plus some catches. Now, you know, his sidekick, Tyler Algier, helped, but Robinson, he was the star. Social media loved it. Fans called it a runway, praised his balance, and that's right there, Ruben, is a generational talent.
It's about time one of your Atlanta teams won something.
Oh my goodness,
I mean, you
man.
know, you got to find something to be happy about occasionally. Congratulations, you won a game. I mean, you got 4 sports teams and you won a game. I will say
He said we wasn't gonna win.
No, I honestly, I was shocked because the Bills did not come out ready to play.
I told
they
you
did
what
not
was
look
gonna
like they
happen.
cared about it at all, and the Falcons were playing like it was a Super Bowl. So hats off to you. Your
No,
team
the
finally
Falcons
won.
are a good team.
Your team finally
Oh my
won.
goodness!
And
I
I'm happy
told
for
you, from even ahead of time, I told you we were going to beat them.
I'm glad.
We
I'm
had
not
the
a Bills
one
fan.
anomaly because we lost 30-0.
I'm not a Bills fan.
And so
Doesn't
everybody
matter to
thought,
me.
well, the Falcons are trash. You know, you lost to the Panthers 30-0. That was a fluke.
And the Panthers are trash.
Well, Panthers are 3-2, so technically
They're
not.
still trash. So I will just say,
Look at all the
great
different
run.
angles.
Yes, great run by Bijan, and great best thing you saw because it gave you some Atlanta pride and a chance to finally pound your chest and say that your teams don't suck for that day.
Bro. Now, do you think that Bijan Robinson is now the front runner for Offensive Player of the Year?
Nah, you gotta wait.
Now that we're talking MVP a little bit, I ain't got to the MVP level.
You gotta wait. You gotta
Offensive
wait.
Player of the Year. Who's the Offensive Player of the Year if it's not him?
I don't know yet. That's too early. That season is so long,
we're
bro.
in week 5.
It's a
Week 6 or
16-week
whatever.
season. It's a 16-week season.
So people are already talking about Baker Mayfield as MVP.
No, Baker's
like,
not
come on.
It's so early in the season, coaches are still getting fired. To the point that I said several weeks ago, which was the Titans were the worst team in the NFL, and that they needed to fire Brian Callahan. And guess what happened?
Brian Callahan got fired.
100%.
But Titans
Who's
record-wise
right?
isn't the worst.
They're still the
It's
worst
Jets.
team.
The Jets are winless.
are absolute hot garbage, but the Titans under Brian Callahan were almost impossible to watch.
Yeah, sure, but at least the Titans have a win and the Jets don't.
A fluke win. And I'm not even a Titans hater. I was a Houston Oilers fan. In fact, they wore that.
That means he definitely is a Titans hater.
Okay, anyway, I can see this
He's
all
a
the
Titans hater.
All right, congratulations to Rich Dixon for one of your teams finally scoring and for you having something to brag about. That's going to do it for today's show, episode of the 24th Floor. Shout out to everybody who made today's show possible.
Especially Azurite Caleb and Brooklyn High for their work behind the scenes, putting the show together. Big shout out to our DeSoto County coaches, DeSoto Central's Will Wolf, Horn Lake's Dustin Hector. This should be a heck of a game this Friday. As always, our guy, Stephen Willis.
Yeah, I'll be out there Friday night for sure, checking that one out. Have a great day, everybody. We will see you on the other side where hopefully Richard's team scores another score. Score a touchdown, maybe a bucket,
Oh, my goodness.
a field goal. Could you guys get I don't know, what else?